The diplomatic lounge, aboard the Zenith-class cruiser, Harmony's Edge, was designed to accommodate 17 different species in comfort. Adjustable atmospheric processors, variable gravity fields, and temperature-controlled zones created microenvironments for each delegation. In the center of it all, surrounded by cushioned alcoves and floating platforms, sat a simple metal chair. Dr. Elena Vasquez remained perfectly still in that chair, her hands folded in her lap, as Ambassador Thexnul of the Hegemony Coalition towered over her. The Gorvani diplomat's crystalline carapace reflected the soft ambient lighting, creating prismatic patterns across his 12-foot frame. His forearms gestured dramatically as he spoke, each movement calculated to intimidate. "Your species presumes too much, little Deathworlder." Thexnul's harmonic voice resonated through his thoracic chambers. "Earth's application to join the Galactic Council is laughable. A planet that spawned such violent, primitive creatures has no place among civilized worlds." Elena didn't move. Her dark eyes tracked Thexnul's movements with the patient focus of someone accustomed to observing dangerous predators. Around the lounge, representatives from various member species watched the exchange with interest. Some floated in crystalline spheres filled with methane, others perched on branches that grew from the ship's bio-walls, and a few rested in pools of conducting fluid that allowed their electrical consciousness to interface with the ship's systems. "Furthermore," Thexnul continued, his voice growing louder as Elena's silence apparently frustrated him, "your planet's gravity well of 9.8 meters per second squared has produced creatures of unnecessary physical density. Your bones are 3 times thicker than any civilized species requires. Your muscle mass is grotesquely overdeveloped. You are, quite literally, built for violence." The Zenthari representative, a graceful being of living light, contained within a humanoid energy matrix, pulsed with what Elena recognized as amusement. "Ambassador Thexnul speaks truth. Deathworlders are evolutionary mistakes, species that survive conditions no intelligent life should endure." Elena finally spoke, her voice quiet, but carrying clearly through the lounge's translation matrix. "Deathworlder, is that what you call us?" "A scientific classification," Thexnul replied, moving closer to loom over her. "Planets with gravity above 7.0 standard, atmospheric pressures exceeding 0.8 bars, and surface temperatures varying more than 30 degrees Celsius are classified as death worlds. Only the most savage, brutal species emerge from such environments. You are an aberration." Elena's lips curved into what might have been a smile. "I see. And what would you call a species that evolved in 0.3 standard gravity, with perfectly controlled atmospheric conditions and surface temperatures that never vary more than 2 degrees? "Civilized," Thexnul said immediately. "Refined. Evolved beyond the need for physical brutality. I would call them fragile." The word hung in the recycled air like a challenge. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their various accommodations. Thexnul's carapace darkened, a sign of anger among his species. "Fragile?" His voice dropped to a dangerous harmonic. "The Gorvani Empire spans 400 systems. We have perfected interstellar diplomacy, quantum communications, and matter-energy conversion. What has your pathetic Deathworld contributed to galactic civilization?" Elena remained seated, but something in her posture shifted. It was subtle, a slight adjustment of her shoulders, a barely perceptible change in how her weight distributed across the chair. To most observers, it looked like she was simply getting more comfortable. Dr. Vriltan, a healer caste Malarian who specialized in xenobiology, recognized the signs. His tentacles curled with alarm as he observed the human's musculature subtly tensing, her breathing pattern shifting to something more efficient. He had studied Deathworlder physiology extensively and knew what those micro-adjustments meant. "Ambassador Thexnul," Dr. Vrilton's voice carried an urgent overtone through his translator. "Perhaps we should." "Be silent, soft flesh," Thexnol snapped. "I am addressing the primitive." Elena's dark eyes fixed on the Gorvani ambassador. "Ambassador, you've made several assumptions about my species that I think need correction." She stood up. The movement was fluid, economical, and revealed the true nature of what evolution on a high-gravity world had created. Elena Vasquez stood 5 feet 6 inches tall, but her frame carried the dense muscle mass of someone who had spent her entire life fighting against a planet that actively tried to kill its inhabitants. Every step she took on Earth required overcoming gravitational force that would crush most galactic species. In the 0.7 standard gravity of the ship, she was essentially superhuman. "First," Elena said, taking a single step forward, "you assume that surviving a death world makes us primitive. It doesn't. It makes us adaptable." Thexnol raised one of his forearms dismissively. "Your planet's harsh conditions simply." Elena moved. What happened next took place in less than 2 seconds, but Dr. Vrilton's enhanced perception recorded every detail. The human woman closed the 8-foot distance between herself and Thexnol with a single explosive movement. Her right hand struck the center of his carapace, not with a clenched fist, but with the heel of her palm, delivering precise force to the weakest point in Gorvani anatomy. The sound of crystalline material fracturing echoed through the lounge. Thexnol's 12-foot frame lifted completely off the deck. He flew backward across the diplomatic lounge, past the methane-breathing Zephyrians in their containment spheres, beyond the bioperches of the dendrites, and crashed into the far bulkhead with enough force to dent the reinforced metal. He hit the deck in a shower of crystal fragments from his shattered carapace, his spine visibly bent at an angle that made several observers emit distress calls. Elena walked back to her chair and sat down, her breathing unchanged, her expression calm. "Second," she continued as if nothing had happened, "you assume that physical capability equals brutality. It doesn't. It gives us the option to choose restraint." The lounge had fallen completely silent, except for the ambient hum of life support systems. Medical teams were already rushing toward Thexnol's motionless form. "And third," Elena concluded, folding her hands in her lap once again, "you assume that surviving on a world like Earth means we're unfit for civilization. But consider this: if we can build a society capable of producing art, literature, science, and compassion on a planet that actively tries to kill us every day." She looked around the lounge, meeting the gaze of each representative in turn. "What do you think we're capable of when we don't have to fight our own world just to survive?" Dr. Vrilton's medical readings confirmed what his observations had suggested. Thexnol would survive, but his spine was indeed fractured in 3 places. The human had delivered exactly enough force to incapacitate without killing a level of precision that spoke to both incredible physical control and an intimate understanding of alien anatomy. As Elena sat quietly in her simple metal chair, surrounded by representatives of advanced galactic civilizations, one thing became clear to everyone present. Deathworlders weren't primitive. They were terrifying.